Hello, welcome back to another episode of Critical Reactions with your host Bryan. We just finished up checking out a dissonant track. Now we're going to be looking at a special selection, which is where one of you tell me exactly what you want me to listen to. Today comes at us from Alex. It says Sermon, The Drift. It's the solo project of an anonymous guy in England. The drumming is standout as well as the structure of the song. I think you'll dig it. Alright, let's get into this. Yeah, heavy emphasis on just beat 3. I think we're starting to open up on 1 as well now. Yeah, and now we've shifted to only 1. Really nice hi-hat run there. Ambience is setting up this.
As he wandered an endless gray land.
Yeah, I like how that hi-hat rhythm kind of moved over to the toms. So instead he used the foot pedal to get these quarter note hi-hat hits to retain that sound.
Clutching the roots and soil, bleeding with the earth in the arms of the drift.
Yeah. That moving back and forth between the toms and the hi-hat is really cool.
Waiting for the master's hand as he wandered an endless gray land. As he stayed down, clutching the roots and soil, bleeding with the earth in the arms of the drift.
Yeah, starting to open it up now a bit.
He marched the land, craving
I really like the spatial mix on the drums. So we have some dynamic things going on here. We have a reduction in both width and volume. See where this takes us. really sitting in this ambience. It works well with this visualization of just drifting in a sea of nothing. I like the heavy reverb that's going on in the atmosphere part as well. I think it's necessary. It provides a little bit of movement that the song doesn't really have. Yeah, so we brought back that tom run, but we put a guitar with it this time. Some palm muted. What is that, 16th notes? Yeah, fantastic ramping up of intensity. That's the first time the organ's been used here. And we're done, right? Almost. What an interesting choice. Once again, though, we have that very quick vibrato going on there. Yeah, cool song. That's good marketing. You got my attention. I was like, what's the sound? Oh, album's coming out. Yeah, good job with that. Oh, man. Bye-bye. Yeah, so really cool stuff going on there. We have, for the most part, it is a fairly similar idea throughout the entire song, but the way that it's expanded upon and worked within is really the key ingredient here to creating this song, which tends to focus on atmosphere more than anything else. But with that said, I really enjoy the evolution of the track and the journey it took me on. And I think this is definitely one of those slow burns where the journey is a lot more important than the individual aspects. Now, my bread and butter is individual aspects. We're still going to dive into some of that stuff, but I do think that there is going to be a bit of seeing the forest or missing the forest for the trees with this analysis, due to the fact that this is really a song I think that's supposed to be felt and taken as a whole rather than individual components. But there are some really interesting things going on here that are worth bringing up. For instance, there is a theme to this song, and I think that's awesome. I really don't get to bring up theme too often on this channel. The cool thing is, though, the theme is primarily tossed around and created variation upon in the percussion. The first time we hear the theme, it is on the toms, and I think it's really cool that the song starts out with these tom hits on beat 3. I think it's 3. The rest of the song emphasized 1, so I suppose there's a chance that I was off by 2 beats when I was listening to the beginning. which could happen. It was a very sparse intro, and I might have just misheard beat one. But to me, at least, it feels like beat three was being emphasized. And the cool thing is that it starts out with single quarter note hits, just a tom hit, and then we had some runs, doo doo, and we slowly incorporated more of this into it until we were hitting on I think one and three. The hi hat began to get introduced, I think somewhere around this point, and then we slowly build. I mean, this is just like the idea of the whole song, the slow burn. You slowly build up into the big set piece. But it's interesting that it's done on a micro level as well as the macro level when it's done to build into the theme that's prevalent through 70% of the song. And we slowly build into this quick tom run. I don't know if there's multiple toms involved. I think I heard different pitches, but it also could have just been different velocities, different striking speeds of the drum. I don't know. Sometimes I get that mixed up. I don't know. I have weird ears, I suppose, for percussive instruments. Um, but yeah, we have this really cool tom run that we get into, and it's filled with these 16th notes with some accents on some of them. I think a few of them are actually eighth notes to provide a little bit of pause, where you get a little bit of a gap instead of just constant 16th notes to provide some rhythmic complexity to it rather than it being a static rhythmic idea of a series of 16th notes. And then we have the hi-hat keeping time on, it might be every beat actually, now that I think about it. The cool thing is, though, is that the opening 4 minutes of the song maybe alternates between a more frantic section and a more sparse section. And the frantic section utilizes this theme on the toms, which is what we build into. But we also back that off into a little bit more of a sparse ambient section where this rhythm gets played on the hi-hat, closed hi-hat. And it's really cool seeing this theme get tossed back and forth. After these two sections, I think we do a repetition. So we have the quiet, and then the heavy, and then the quiet, and then the heavy, and then we enter into the atmospheric bridge, where we really sit inside this very sparse orchestration, an ambient tone, a very sparse drum. If there is, I can't remember. I was more of just getting sucked into that atmosphere at that point, and listening to some of the atmospheric ideas in the keyboard or electronic stuff that was going on. Maybe it was a guitar. But then we finish out returning back to some of this heavy stuff. The tom or the theme gets played on the tom again, but this time with a guitar playing palm muted 16th notes, adding a melodic layer into this theme. And seeing this theme continue to have these variations played on it is just really cool. I love themes. I will always bring it up. I don't know. I've heard some people talk about not wanting to reuse things they've written. I get it. There seems to be a very negative perspective, at least in from casual listeners I've heard, that they don't like hearing things get used again. And to me, that's a very modern thing. But I've heard it enough that I can say, at least, well, I don't want to extrapolate too far because we're going to end up reaching a lot of errors given my small sample size. But I've heard it enough that I kind of feel like it is an aspect of modern music listening and possibly even modern music creation. But well, maybe more so in rock and metal, country maybe, not so much in pop because people really like their samples and reusing samples. But this idea of not reusing things is just such a strange idea given how often themes are utilized in classical music, even in jazz music. Even in a simple AABA jazz structure of playing the structured verse part twice and then entering a solo section and then doing the structured verse part to finish out the song. During the solo section, you can incorporate ideas from the structured part, and it's bringing in the theme, but you're putting your own spin on it, putting some variation on it. Theme is so prevalent through many of the best genres through history. It's so strange to me that we don't experience it often now, and that I actually hear people want less reusing of ideas. It just doesn't make sense to me. It's such an economic decision that impacts the weight of a song. It saves time because you've already written it, and it adds cohesion. I don't know. I don't know, but I'm always excited to listen to music that has ideas of theme in it or motif. Taking an idea you've already written and doing something new to it, or just reusing it. You don't even have to do something new to it. Put it in with different things around it. Change the context to it. But it's very interesting to me because I rarely hear it done percussively. Usually, there might be some rhythmic changes, but it's done in melodic instruments. And maybe the key changes, or it's shifted up a few steps, or, it's inverted or reversed or something, but it's still more of a melodic theme. Um, I can't really say too often I've heard a theme go throughout different parts of the drum kit, and I think that's pretty cool. It does get paired with a melody line at the end, but I mean, honestly, he got the punch of a drumhead instrument, and he got the brightness of a cymbal. So I don't really know what else he was going to pull out of a drum kit, unless he's got like wood blocks or something. Um, so yeah, the only other way I could have seen doing that is pairing it with a pitched instrument and putting a melody to it. But yeah, really cool stuff all around on that front. The idea of theme and variation. Now, interestingly, the theme doesn't pop up at all in the ambient section, which makes perfect sense given what I think it's aiming for. The song is called The Drift. I assume that all the build up to the middle section is this driving energy. The middle section is actually the drift itself. Whatever happened that propelled this person into a state of, lacking impact, of drifting, not being able to change their destination, or, not having any choice in it. I couldn't tell if it was like spacey or water. The visualization. It kind of looks like someone floating underwater, but it's also black and white, and so maybe it's like stars and like a giant sun. I don't know, but definitely either way, it's the concept of somebody without the power to change their position, drifting in this void, and having a driving 16th note theme is not going to sell that idea. So I'm kind of hoping the story of the lyrics kind of go along with this momentum up to the point that sends the main character, or whatever, adrift. Um, and that's where you get the driving energy into the very sparse emptiness. Now, that sparse emptiness does a fantastic job of selling the idea of being trapped in a void. No one around you, very limited sounds, and it goes on forever. It is the opposite of the slow burn. The slow burn that we saw at the beginning, that eventually leads up to the final section, is all about increasing momentum, increasing energy, increasing complexity. The song really does move from just a couple of moving parts, really low in volume, to the final section, which is explosive. We have a ton of moving parts, we have new instruments being added in. Our theme is at its most complex that it's been. Our vocals are no longer one clean vocalist. I think there's two harsh vocals. They're increasing in dynamic. They hit a note and just rise, get louder and louder on it. It's this idea, the journey of growing complexity in several directions. This is the exact opposite of it. And I think it's really interesting to put it in between your two elements of growth. I am curious about the lyrics to see maybe how that might work into this concept, because the middle section fits well with the name of the song, fits well with the visualization, but musically, it is a sharp interrupt to this growth. If we cut the middle section out, the drifting part, and we put the part before it and part after it together, we get a very nice, almost perfect, constant growth of complexity, of volume, of ideas, uh, all the stuff I talked about. I don't know why I'm blanking out on it. But we get this gradual rise in intensity. The middle section cuts that rise out, brings it back down to the bottom, and then does a sharp jump back up to where it was going. And so instead of this nice straight linear line, we go up and then we flatten out for a little bit, and then we jump up here to the next step. And it's interesting when you think about it in that light. Now, in practice, I mentioned it that this song is not something that should be taken apart. It's something that should be felt and enjoyed as the journey, not the individual aspects. I don't feel like the song felt stagnated while listening to it. It's only thinking back on it that I question some of the composition. So, in that way, I don't think it's as important. It's like criticizing the brushstroke in a painting, but when you step back, you're, completely in awe. You're having a spiritual moment with this work of art. You might not agree with how it was created, but the impact it has on you is palpable. And I think that's what's happening here. For whatever reason that I can't suss out on a first listen, the middle section, the drop in energy, and how it fragments the constant growth journey of the song, it is necessary for the song to have impact. And normally I would say, that's contrast. And it is. We definitely go from very quiet to very loud almost immediately in that last minute and a half or whatever. And I'm sure that does have a little bit to do with the impact of it, but the disruption of the journey should have a negative impact that might overpower the contrasting element. And I think I'm just getting too theoretical about it, and I should just listen to it and enjoy it. So yeah, really cool track. I am interested in the rest of their stuff. It's not something that is completely hitting me as something I need to listen to, but I'm very intrigued by it. I like the mix of almost electronic rock, electronic harder metal, heavy metal. I don't know what this is. I wouldn't necessarily classify it as metal, but I don't know how else to go about classifying it. Mostly due to the instrumentation and the way that the instruments are utilized. It's a very rock metal idea. It just doesn't feel like rock or metal to me. So that's pretty cool as well. Let's see. I don't think there's anything else I wanted to talk about other than that organ. Where'd that organ come from? I heard it for a single note. It was the final climactic chord that everybody was in on. And I think it was the last instrument to be held out. I think it even held that note out longer than the guitar. And then it was just I didn't hear it during the big section. Maybe it was a mixing thing. Maybe I just wasn't looking for it, because 6 minutes up to this point there was no organ. I didn't think I'd need to listen to one, so or keep my ear out for one. So there's a possibility of that. But it's an interesting choice to put that in there at the end after we've sort of established what the instrumentation is in the song and the fact that the song's over. 30 seconds to go. Let's throw an organ in there. But the thing is, it's impactful. I'm going to remember that. In fact, I'm talking about it. The fact that I've brought it up means it worked in some capacity. But I'm really curious about the artistic reason for it. Those are my thoughts, though, on sermons, the drift. This is where you guys come in, though. Hit me up in the comments. Let me know if you enjoyed this or not, anything that might have stuck out to you. Let me know how you feel about that middle section. Do you think it disrupts the pacing of the song and that it would be better without it? Or do you agree with me in that it's quite necessary, even if on paper it might not have been the right choice? It ended up feeling perfect with it. Above the comment section, there's a description box and there's a link for Linktree. In there you can find links for everything related to the channel, such as Twitter, Patreon, Discord, my email, anything you want related to the channel, it's all there. Above that, if you could, like, subscribe, and ring the bell. I'll be back tomorrow at 5 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, 9 p.m. UTC. As usual, we'll be looking at the penultimate song for Dissonance Week, as well as the final special selection for the week. Friday, as usual, I will be looking at a song for a band who has contacted me via email to specifically check out their music. Alright, until next time, remember to be critical, not cynical of the music you listen to, and have a fantastic morning, afternoon, or evening, whenever you choose to watch my videos.